All right, so thank you everybody for showing up to the second general meeting of the semester. I know you guys could have a lot of different things you could be doing right now, but thank you for making the time to show up. We appreciate it. So going to the agenda for the meeting real quick. First, we're going to reintroduce the board positions that are open for the next academic year. We're going to go over our mentorship program, t-shirts, our next social event, and then we're going to tackle how to make your application stand out with pre-PT grind. But first, I'll let Nathan go through this.
Yeah, so hi, these are the positions that are open for the next academic year for the club: president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, publicist, and community outreach chair. The deadline to apply is April 2nd. You can apply earlier if you like, but if you do, please try to get your schedule for the next semester in between April 3rd and April 7th. That way we can adjust for meeting times within that period. The results will be posted on April 9th as well.
All right, and our mentorship program is still going on. I want to thank everyone who signed up for it, who's new. I'm really excited to pair you guys up. But I just wanted to quickly remind you guys, returners, you only have to fill out the returning form if you're either a mentee who now wants to become a mentor, if you're a mentor and you want more mentees, or if you're a mentee and you want to be repaired with another mentor. So just keep that in mind. You guys can all edit your answers still as well. And the deadline to sign up is tonight at midnight. And by Sunday night, I'll be sending out an email to mentors to show everyone's placements. So remember to sign up tonight if you're still looking to do this, and I hope to see more applications. And then I'll also be sending out longer prompts than these for mentors to discuss with their mentees. And we highly recommend that you do this because I think that it gives a little more direction to your conversations. And these are meant to focus around different parts of the application. So yeah, just keep this in mind. And just a reminder that I'll be sending out more detailed prompts in emails to mentors. And then you guys can still pay for t-shirts. Remember that all of the profits after we calculate shipping costs and everything will be donated to the Challenge Athletes Foundation. So just remember to Venmo me $20, put pre-PT shirt in the caption and your full name if your full name isn't on your Venmo yet. And then we also have a t-shirt form that you can fill out with your address and everything like that. And the deadline is tonight, so you can still get that in. And also remember that if we don't hit the 17 people that we need to get the t-shirts at this cost, then I'll be refunding all your money through Venmo.
So sign up, get some t-shirts. It looks sweet. I don't know if the camera's on me, but they look like this. They're worth it. All right.
And we also have our preview days resource. Some of the colleges have their scheduled dates already prepared, so we've updated some of those colleges with them. Otherwise, we'll be continuously updating them every month, and there'll be links to the programs or their tour video on the document itself. And also remember to join our Discord. Those are for club reminders and PT related info, whether you want to talk about if you're concerned about where to get the mentor and mentee forms. I've been getting a few messages from that. Also, we share Instagram accounts for content we think that is relatively good and related to PT. Also, we talk about volunteer aid positions and instructor suggestions.
Cool, and this brings us to one of our last points. Is our next social is going to be next week, which is February 26th, and it's called PE with Pre-PT. So it's going to be led by Maggie Dottie. She is a fourth-year dance bachelor's of fine art, currently at CSULB. She's Schwinn certified, NASM certified as well. She's currently teaching. And so when you guys show up, feel free to bring your dumbbells or a TheraBand if you have them. However, no equipment is necessary to work out with us, but it's not going to hurt to bring it. You'll also be able to learn a little bit more about becoming and working as a fitness instructor. And you guys should go check her out and give her a follow at Maggie Dottie Fitness. All right. And that will stop this right here. And we will transition now to talk about how to make your application stand out on PT Cast. So we'll let pre-PT Brian take it away.
Hey, what's up, y'all? How you guys doing? First of all, we actually love like activity, so engagement. So tonight we might ask you guys questions, and as we ask them, just drop the answers in the chat. Part of it too is like when you're learning. I mean, think about how you guys learn. When you take notes, when you write things down, when you do other things other than just listen, you tend to remember a lot more afterwards. So, so let's try this. Say understood in the chat if that made sense. Let's just see if we can all like, use our devices, whether we're on our phone. Perfect. Look at that. I love it. I love it. Second thing is I'm freaking amazed by how you guys run your program. Like I'm literally like, and we're not saying that to say it, like this is the best pre-PT club I have ever seen yet. And we have seen a lot of them. The level of structure that you guys have, a lot of them, a ton. And so the level of structure you guys have, the commitment that, I mean, the fact, look at this, 24, like the commitment, the variety, like I was watching your announcements, just the variety of what you guys are doing. Just understand, for those of y'all that are not part of the leadership, just understand that y'all are part of something really beautiful here. And this is unmatched. Like this right here should be the standard for how other pre-PT clubs should be ran. So that's just honest speaking. I had to say that because I was watching these. I was like, man, like I don't even know, like where is this? Like where was this when I was a pre-PT? But y'all are in great hands, and just keep doing like your mentorship program. Just the people y'all are bringing in. Just like take advantage of all of it. But for your leaders, y'all have done a great job, and for everybody else, y'all have done a great job in committing to this. So y'all are great. How many of you guys are familiar with pre-PT grind? Just because I want to know how much we should introduce. Say yes in the chat. See, I told y'all I'm gonna make a comment. So say yes in the chat if you are. Say no if you're not. If y'all have never heard of us, say no. Okay, so I'm seeing a few no's. I'm seeing a lot of yeses. Okay, great. So basically what we are, because the majority of yeses, we'll keep this super brief. We're both physical therapists. I am a physical therapist in Tampa, Florida. Casey's a physical therapist in Chicago. And we fell in love with serving pre-PTs back in 2014. And that's when we started what has now become pretty cool platform to help pre-PTs. But really what our job is to help you guys get into PT school without wasting a lot of time and money, right? Because I mean, all of us are here at least because we want to become physical therapists. That's what I would assume, right? So, so that's our job. And the biggest thing is that there's just a lot of obstacles along the way that get into our heads, right? Like if we have lower GPAs than our classmates, if we apply the first time and we don't get in, if we hear all these horror stories from our advisors or we read them on threads online, it kind of messes with your head. And so our job is to make sure, like, basically say, hey, like, take a deep breath. This is how to figure it out. And this is how you can still get into PT school. And so tonight we're going to be talking about just it's like standing out in general. Like how can I stand out? Is that a question you guys have ever asked yourself? Whether you're a freshman, I heard there's more juniors and seniors in this group. Say yup in the chat if you've ever kind of just ask yourself, like, how do I really stand out? Do I just do a whole bunch of stuff? Do I just do a whole bunch of like experiences? Man, what if my GPA is not good enough? I've been working hard, but I had a few semesters that didn't go as well. I had a year or two that wasn't as great, or maybe I just switched to pre-PT and I was doing something else. And now I'm stressing out because I had harder classes. Okay, great. So we all think that. And the problem with this question is that a lot of us have, for the most part, been given the same answer. And that answer is do more. Now, is it a bad answer? Not after what we're going to share with you tonight. Like, you have to understand how to channel it. But basically what we're told is do more, right? So, hey, you don't stand out as an applicant, just get a bunch of more hours. Oh, wait, COVID-19? Well, that's unfortunate, right? Like, or, oh, you have a low GPA? look for community service stuff, look for whatever, apply to 20 schools. Like, how many of you, like, raise your hand for those of y'all that are on video, like, if you've ever heard anything close to that. Just basically, if I want to stand out, I basically have to just go above and beyond, just do as much as I possibly can. And the honest truth is, like, that's good advice for someone that doesn't understand how this game works. And by that, I mean your advisors. By that, I mean family members. I remember getting some advice from my family members, right, who had never been PTs before. They're like, Joseph, this is how you got to do it. This is how your grades have to be and whatnot. We always have people in our lives that just want to, help us out, right? But they help us out by, also bringing a lot of doubt with a lot of what they give us, right? It leads us to second guess ourselves. If we're not doing as well, they're the first to say, hey, you should have a few plan Bs just in case things don't go well. So tonight, we're going to like lay it out, because what we've noticed is we've had a lot of students, like hundreds of students that we have coached directly. And let me just drop some numbers for you just so that you guys can understand, whoa, like this is not a matter of just having a 4.0. This is not just a matter of, oh, I got to just be the best person at the GRE. I got to have 1,000 hours. Like, this is a matter of like, yo, this is actually possible for anybody. Like students that we had a student who had a 2.4. A 2.4 GPA when they started working with us. And I'm literally telling y'all this to just break what you've been taught in your head. Students that had applied to 15 schools the previous cycle. And then the next cycle they applied to 5 schools and got accepted by 4 of them. Students that took the GRE 5 times, students that had less than like 20 observation hours, because we've been told that we have to have 500 or whatever. Like Casey and I didn't have that many. Like I had like 82 when I applied, and I don't know how many Casey had. And so like a lot of the things that we've been taught, we're going to help you guys unlearn that and then understand this is like for anybody in here. If you guys can just understand what we're going to teach you tonight and then say, whoa, like that makes sense, then what will happen is you'll basically have a key to unlock all the actions that you need to start doing, whether you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Now you'll be like, okay, cool. Like I'm starting to see what I can do to control my own path, because every single one of y'all here has the ability to get into PT school. Like it's not a matter of like, there was a student case. I don't know if you ever heard this one, but we had a student who said that they had a physical therapist come into their pre-PT club, like in person, and tell them, hey, listen, the majority of you won't make it. Only a fraction of you will make it. Can y'all imagine somebody telling y'all that? Like the majority of you will not make it. Statistically, most of y'all just try, but you might not do it because you have to meet A, B, C, and D. So it's the opposite. Every single one of you has the ability to do it. Most of us just were never taught how. So does that make sense? Just kind of nod for those of y'all that are on camera. Okay, cool. So Casey, let's start breaking it down, brother. And then let's have some fun. And then what we'll do, guys, we'll try to keep the presentation of, sounds like the guest speakers for, hey, I'm telling you, just watch out for people that tell you that you can't do anything. It's always easier to tell someone they can't do something than to show them how to really do it. But that's just neither here nor there. So what we're going to do is we'll try to keep this brief so that we can do this all within like the next 50 minutes. So that at the end, we can leave at least 15 minutes or so or a little bit more to like for y'all to ask questions. Is that cool? Like we want to make sure that by the time this is for y'all, like we're already PTs. We want to make sure you guys actually get to that point. So as you guys are listening, ask yourself, like, what are things that I'm stuck on? Like, what are questions that I have? And then at the end, we're going to open it up and y'all can just ask us. We'll help you guys get unstuck. And then we'll tell you where you can go to keep learning more. And then we'll go from there. So Casey, take it away, brother.
Man, I felt like a pre-PT. I was like, wait, I got to talk tonight? Oh, shoot. I forgot. I was soaking all this in like, oh, yeah, I can apply with this. Yeah, I could get it. So let me switch back. But yeah, shoot, where was I even going to start? Because with standing out, there's so many places you could go. Like there's so many doors that we can open first. And there's so many angles that we can attack this with. But I think first you can think about it by thinking of something else, giving it a different analogy before you jump right into how do I stand out as a pre-PT? Because it first starts with yourself. Because in that question, how do you stand out is your answer. How do you stand out? It's about you. It's about changing yourself or being better yourself, or whatever your weaknesses or strengths are, whatever that is about you first. So when you think about that, it's okay. It's like, okay, now let me make an analogy to something else. What catches my attention? What stands out to me? Let's start there. What do you guys like? Is it YouTube? Is it makeup videos? Is it a vlogger on YouTube? Is it somebody on TikTok you follow? Is it a certain store brand? Is it a basketball or baseball player? Whatever it is, think about that. Think about your favorite of whatever. Then let's dig deeper. Why are they your favorite? Why do they stand out to you? Is it how they talk, how they play, how many points they score, how many followers they got? I don't care what it is. Why do they stand out to you? And think about that. Write it down if you want, or just think about it. Then say, okay, those are great qualities. I figured out the qualities that stand out to me that I like. Now, how can I be more like that? Or what aspects of that can apply to me in my application with myself? Is it how hard they work? Is it, man, they crank out 3 videos a day? Do I really understand how much work 3 videos a day takes? Probably not, but man, that's a lot. They must have good work ethic. All right. Or the way they pay attention to detail when they do their makeup, or how hard they work to score as many points as they do, or how they speak, or how articulate they are, whatever that is. How can you be that? And how can you work on that? So that's the first thing. Now, when we translate that to the pre-PT stuff in the pre-PT world, now you can use that for all the stuff that you guys probably already heard of and you guys already know. So your essays, your interviews, your relationships that you're building, your online campus visits or virtual visits, whatever you're doing, whatever that is, you can translate that to them. Now, let's get a little bit more into the nitty gritty, then we can break that down a little bit. And I'm sure some questions might come from this, some of the points I might say. So if you do have questions, just drop them in there, because I have a feeling, since it's a lot of y'all and the energy is great on this, I feel it coming through the phone, that a lot of questions will come. So we want to make this valuable for you guys as well. So if you have questions in the middle, just drop them and we'll just start from there, and we'll just go. I'll make this like a TikTok live or something, and we'll just fire off. But now getting into more of the pre-PT stuff, now that you understand that concept, it's one, what do they even want? What does Long Beach even want? Because we have a few students who got into Long Beach. What does that school want? What do they like? What are their alumni doing? Like, just get a feel. Like, what do they post on Instagram? What, if you guys go on campus before all this happened, like what do they like? Do you even know them? Or do you just know the program's name on that building? Is it just a building where you're like, oh, one day I wish I can get in there? Or do you actually know them and the people who run it? So once you do that, you can find out what they like, or what they do, or what their affinity is for. And once you do that, then you can say, oh, Long Beach really loves, I don't know, research and sports. Okay, great. Maybe I should learn more about that. Maybe I don't have to get up all in their face right now and say, I love research and sports too. You probably don't have to do that, but maybe on your own, you can start saying, oh, okay, I noticed that they're really into, the swimming athletes, or they publish a lot of research on this particular sport or on whatever that is. Okay, let me educate myself about it. Let me follow them here. Let me follow a faculty on LinkedIn. Let me ask them some questions about that. What do they have an affinity for? Then you start from there. If it's the opposite and they love statistics and they love high GPAs and they like GRE scores, all right, you know what they want. Now let's go from there. You might have to bust your butt and get better grades or better GRE scores, or show a grade trend that's improving. I don't care what it is. I can care less. Whatever schools you're into or that you're thinking about, you need to find out what they like. Then next, maybe learn a little bit more about the profession that you're getting into, because this is going to be y'all's profession. It's not just myself and Joseph's profession. Right now it is, but it's in the next few years, 5 years, wherever you guys are, it's going to be yours too. Do you know what's going on in PT? Do you not know? Do you need to get educated on it? Are there questions you have about it? Are there fears? Are there concerns? Is there something you're super excited about? Do you know some hot topics that are debated? Learn about that profession, because once you do, now you're not talking like a pre-PT anymore. Oh, professor at Long Beach, do you take my GRE? Oh, all right, here's another one of those pre-PTs. asking about their GRE, and it's the same pre-PT they've seen 1,000 times times 5. Because what if they've been this faculty member for 5 years or 10 years? They've seen you 5,000 times asking about the GRE. But if you educate yourself about them, the school, and the profession that you're about to get into, now you've elevated your speech, you've elevated your information level, your knowledge level, and now you're talking like somebody on their level. You're talking about things that they talk about on the professional level. And they're like, oh, well, this person did their research. This person's a little different. This person is standing out. And you weren't even trying that hard. You were just learning. You were just getting interested in them. You're not spending 10 hours a day trying to clean up garbage on the beach. You're not spending 5 hours a day trying to research, oh, what community thing is going to help me look better and I don't have hours. We didn't even talk about none of that yet. All we're doing is 2 things so far, and you're already standing out. So I'll leave it there. We can dive into any other topic within those different frameworks that we mentioned before, from the bigger topic of what stands out to you to more of the small things like what do schools want, and getting that into more details about the interviews or essay or whatever that is, then learning about the profession as well. So if there's anything else, Joseph, I missed or that you want to branch off and go into, then let's do it.
Yeah, Casey crushed it. Did that make sense first? And then I have like one thing to add to that, and then we're gonna switch over to questions. Can y'all say like make sense in the comments? Say make sense. If I see a lot of make sense, then I know that was clear, because a lot of this, like, remember, this is about you guys. So if it makes sense, then we understand, like, we know that you'll be able to apply it or at least change how you think. But notice Casey didn't come at y'all and say, all right, guys, to stand out, stats say that you need 1,000 observation hours. Stats say that you need this on the GRE. Stats say, like, are those part of it? 100%. Like, we would be ignorant to ignore those things. But it's flipped, right? So I think to simplify this for you guys tonight, standing out has less to do. It's gonna sound weird, but it'll make sense. Standing out has less to do with me standing out and more to do with who I'm standing out to. I'll say that one more time and then I'll break it down, because Casey hit it, but I hope y'all understood it, because I think when we're trying to stand out, who are we still comparing ourselves to? Our classmates. If I'm comparing myself to my classmates, I'm still just trying to stand out in general, like as if this whole applying the PT school thing has this golden standard out there that if I can, you know, be a little bit ahead of my peers, maybe that's a sign that I have crossed the threshold and I'm now on this side of students that's going to be like qualified to be accepted into PT programs, right? That's just, and what happens is if you see it as this broad thing, you will always feel like you're not doing enough. You will always feel like you don't have enough hours. You will always feel like you don't have a high enough GRE score. You will always, you know, beat yourself up over sophomore year when you had a really rough semester because you had stuff going on at home and you couldn't keep up with your grades and that affected everything. Or maybe you were taking all these hard classes that you didn't know how to balance and now it's messing up your cumulative GPA, and you're like, but they're going to see that and they're going to see that I'm not as good as these other students that have a 3.5 or 3.6 or 3.7. You're not going to feel good enough. What does that do to you is it actually affects like your vibe, right? Like how many of y'all are productive? Say yup or no. How many of y'all are productive when you feel terrible about yourself? And how many of y'all are like, say, because I don't, like if I'm feeling terrible about myself, I'm usually watching Netflix. I'm usually taking a nap. I'm usually finding like, I love ice cream. So I could rock with some ice cream. And I don't know, like it usually isn't good things, right? And so, but if I feel great about myself, I'm good. Like, and so now, like you have to ask yourself, if those things are actually bringing me down, then what happens is the amount of time, whether y'all are applying this year, whether y'all are applying in 2 years or a year or whatever, the amount of time that I have to actually do things that would actually be worthwhile is stifled. So I have to switch how I see this thing. It's about who I'm applying to. That's what Casey was talking about. So for you guys, treat it almost like a relationship. This is how I'm going to end it, and then we're going to switch to questions. If you guys can treat the application process like a relationship, y'all will be on a completely different level than most applicants in the entire United States. because most students are still doing it the way I just told you. So guess what? They're all frantic, regardless of whatever. Their vibe is different. They're not doing things that are actually getting them closer. They're spending too much time, saying, oh, I need a social media break. I'm just so anxious and this and that, whatever. And I struggle with anxiety, so I understand that well, and it messes you up, right? But if I can treat each program that I'm applying to like someone I'm trying to build a relationship with, then guess what? I don't do things that make me happy. I do things that make them happy. So for example, with my wife, just because she's a woman, she's amazing, y'all. But just because she's a woman, I can't just assume that she loves flowers. Now she actually does, but I can't assume that she just loves flowers. I can't just be like, you know what? Because I just seen this on every Hallmark movie, I'm gonna just get her chocolates and flowers for every occasion, for Valentine's Day, for her birthday, for our anniversary. If I did that, like, what if she didn't like them? Like, do y'all think it would go far? No. So what do I have to do? I have to actually understand her, right? So I know that she loves quality time. So if I'm giving her quality time, guess what? Like, she receives that and says, whoa, like, he actually cares. So with the programs that you guys are applying to, that's what Casey was talking about. If I can change my focus to the schools that I'm applying to, schools that match me, because that on paper stuff does matter at a surface level, but it's not everything, right? At a surface level, schools that match me on paper, but now I'm able to basically apply to them like they're the only guy or girl in the world. Then what happens is the actions that I take reflect them. So if one of the schools that I'm applying to values community service or values outreach or values international like interactions with the world or whatever, like, and I've done those things, I'm showcasing those things. If one school loves research, if one school loves it, like, I'm basically turning myself into the perfect applicant for them. And then what happens is your focus actually completely shifts from your classmates. It shifts from going on Google and typing in what are the average stats for students to stay out in PT school. It limits you from being stifled by maybe what your advisor, I don't know if y'all have a good or bad advisor. Some advisors are good, most are not. Like, so whatever your advisor has told you, like whatever family members are telling you, because your focus is on the school. So for me, it doesn't matter what anybody tells me. My focus is on my wife. So whatever I do, as long as it's in alignment with what she values, if I'm studying her, if I'm understanding her, then, oh my goodness, it's going to be reciprocated. So if you guys can do that, that's how the students who have like had all those stats that I was telling you about, that's how they did it. They found the schools that were right for them. And then they said, how do I become that person for them? How do I take the things that Casey was saying and start tailoring myself for those schools? So that and build a relationship with them. And there's layers to this, and we can dive into that and all that stuff. But that's how to properly stand out to PT schools. Nobody's going to tell you that. It's easier to just throw stats. It's easier to just say a general number. But if you guys can start thinking of it that way, it should actually reduce your stress. It should actually give you a breath of fresh air, right? Like you're not meant for every school out there. Just get over it. Absolutely get over it. Right? Also, now y'all can start seeing why it doesn't make too much sense to apply to 16, 17, 18, 19 schools, because there's no way I can apply to all those schools like they're the only guy or girl in the world. Is this making sense? Students that do that are not only a lot more energized as applicants, but they're doing things that actually matter in relation to those schools. And by the time they apply, there's no surprises. Like, we teach that to our students, like, yo, we don't want y'all to have any surprises. Like, by the time y'all are applying, I need y'all to feel like, yo, I did everything I needed to do. Like, treat your application like proposing for marriage, right? By the time you propose, there shouldn't be a surprise. It shouldn't be like those football games where you see, this guy proposing and then she says no, and you're like, what? Like, how would you set this whole thing up on national television and not know that she was gonna say yes? Come on, man. Like, you set yourself up, right? That's what a lot of students do. And if you guys can start understanding that this is how the game works and start shifting your focus, now instead of being stressed out about the question of standing out for PT school, now you're excited. Now you're saying, okay, so what do I need to learn in order to now stand out for that program? How do I research them? How do I do this? How do I do now your questions have so much more excitement behind them, and your actions follow that. And ultimately you end up becoming the applicant that those schools are looking for. And it's mutual as well. And That's how y'all will get into PT school. So that's how it really works. I hope this made sense tonight, but that's also why we wanted to make sure that we left time for you guys to ask questions. So, so tell you what, just put question in the chat and then we'll have you unmute yourself so you can just ask it. And then let's dive deeper, whatever questions y'all got, let's answer them. Is there anything else I missed, Casey, before we switch over?
Let's hop into it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Nathan, I'll have you unmute yourself.
Hi. Yeah. First, I just want to say that was probably the best advice I've heard so far regarding applying for PT school so far. Both Joseph, your expansion on Casey's spiel and Casey's spiel itself. For the most part, throughout, especially early in the wanting to be a PT or as just being a pre-PT, the stats were the biggest thing that stood out to me, and I kind of felt just like lost in all of that. And so, I guess it's more. It was a lot less of a question and more of a comment. But the steps I've been trying to take to be not just a better PT applicant and hopefully a better practitioner in the future, it just makes me feel better that knowing that I'm at least doing something right, even if it's just a little bit in the right direction. And so, sometimes just felt like I wasn't. So thank you for that.
You got it, Doc. I loved it. Good stuff.
Anytime, man. Anytime. Let's see. Let's go to Shelton.
Hi, I'm Shelton. So I listened to everything that you just said, and so basically what my original concern was like regarding gap years. So I recently got a volunteer aid position down in Newport Beach, and so right now I have like an accumulation of roughly like 200, 250 to 300 hours. But all the people I work with there, they've applied to PT school but haven't gotten in, and they have like upwards of like thousands of hours right now. So so what you said was just like targeting schools and to see what they want and to kind of tailor yourself to that. Is that, should I like be worried about the hours aspect of that?
So to be honest, we value hours, we weigh hours more than what they're really worth. Like, think of hours. I mean, at first, hours have some value, right?
Yeah.
But especially now, do they like add this element of, wow, this person has some more exposure to the profession or whatnot? Or yes, of course, that's always great. But I think we overestimate them to a degree. So like, now that's the problem of like being like, oh, I got 1,000 hours, I should be good, right? But if I miss everything else, like I could be way off. I could have like applied to the wrong schools, and that happens, right? And there's a way to actually figure that out, like which school should I be applying to? I could have taken all the wrong steps to build those relationships. I may have missed on the key things that schools actually wanted and focused more on things that they kind of are interested in. And I think hours are one of those things that they're kind of interested in. And honestly, even now, because of COVID, some schools are just waiving it. So they don't really care as much.
Sure.
And so like for you, what you've already done, trust me, like you've done it multiple times what I did. like you've already, like I had 82 hours, period. Like I crawled in there. And so just understand that like what you've already done is more than enough. But I would also be careful too, because whoever you're around usually shapes how you think. So right. if you're listening to a lot of people that have struggled and they're basically throwing that on you, then you're going to hear what their rationale is, what they think. Basically, when we get rejected, we never focus on the things that we're weak at. We focus on the things that we were strong at and say, but did they not see this? So when students get rejected from PT school, they're like, they didn't see my hours. Like, I had great hours. I worked so hard for the last several years, right? When someone gets, when like, let's go back to relationships. Someone breaks up with you. You're like, but I was working hard so that I could like save up for a house for us, but all the other person wanted was just quality time or communication or whatever. So that's the equivalent. So just be very careful who you're talking with. But a lot of what we were sharing tonight is the path that you want to go. Like what does the school actually want, and what are the things that actually matter, as opposed to the things that kind of matter. And ours, honestly, are one of those that's just kind of like sort of there. Like there are students that are getting in with like 40 hours right now, because it's something that kind of matters. It's there. It helps, but it does not have the weight that our advisors have told us it has. It does not have the weight that we as students think it has. So I hope that made sense. Casey, is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, just diving a little deeper as to why they don't matter as much is because if you think about it from their point of view, if a person has 10,000 hours, does that mean they will be a good PT student? That's what they are thinking. Because anybody can have 10,000 hours. You can have straight Fs. You can have a 0 GRE score. You can, have horrible essays, and you can have 10,000 hours. Does that person who told you they have 1,000 hours, did they tell you everything else in their application? And maybe not, I don't know. But you got to think about that as well, like Joseph was saying. But from the school's point of view, putting yourself in their shoes, they're like, hours, like Joseph was saying. That doesn't predict whether you're going to fail out of my school or not and cost me money. That doesn't predict whether you're going to pass the NPTE on the first time and make our school look good. So hours, it's all right. And if you guys want to dig into that anymore, you can go to just Google JOPTE, Journal of Physical Therapy Education, and just type in observation hours, physical therapy school, and you'll see exactly how they think. So that's all I want to add to it, but great question. Great question.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that did. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Let's go to Vivian.
Hey guys.
Hey.
I just had a quick question. I know you mentioned like educating yourself more about the profession. I wanted to know if you can recommend any resources that we can use to learn more about the current issues and hot topics in PT, because I think that's something that I struggle with.
Yeah, you can go to our TikTok page. You'll have to scroll down a little bit, and you can see a TikTok I did on there a while ago. But some that just come to mind is you can just go to the APTA website. That's one. And you can just go there and kind of search around there, and you'll find a number of different articles. You can go to CSM. I don't know if it's .com or .org, and you can see like the different talks and things that were given in the past, different articles, and that stands for Combined Sections Meeting. So you can go there. Then you can also go to the Student Assembly, meaning the APTA, American Physical Therapy Association Student Assembly, and you can start going there to learn more about stuff that's going on the student side. But other than that, things that come to mind are like the PT Compact Act. So that's where some states, if you get licensed there, you're licensed in other states automatically. And you can see what other states are working on it, what states don't care about it, what states are in the compact. You can start searching up, of course, student loans and student debt. Of course, telehealth and COVID-19, that just is going on now. Dry needling and manipulations in some states, some outlier states, you can see how they view that and things. Then insurance, commercial or government, meaning Medicare or Medicaid or Medi-Cal, right? Medi-Cal, I think. You can search that as well. You can see what are the differences between Medi-Cal and Medicaid and Medicare. If you go in there talking to the school about that, they're gonna be like, who in the world? Who is this? And the list goes on and on. Joseph, any more come to mind? There's a lot out there.
No, you hit all of them, but I think finding that TikTok will help a lot with just having them all written down. And if you guys weren't able to write those fast enough, y'all are recording it, so I'm sure you'll be able to access this afterwards to go back to that spot and catch what Casey was saying. But that alone was perfect. Was that helpful, Vivian?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Let's go to Morgan. First of all, Morgan, I love how you spell your name. But secondly, I'll have you unmute yourself.
All right. Yeah, so you're saying how you want to view, right, each, kind of figure out your specific schools, you want to just focus on them, right? So you kind of change so you can fit what they're looking for so you can increase your chances of getting in. So I was kind of wondering, like, how many schools would you suggest to focus on? Because I know you don't want to put all your eggs in just, one basket. So like, would you say focus on like 3 schools, or like, what number do you guys think would be a good amount?
So let me give you the number and then we'll explain why. So the number that we typically give our students is 4 to 7. So that's the number, right? And the reason for that is because if you follow this whole, like how we're like communicating the way, basically how we teach this process, and it works. Like I think it's just over the last several years, we've just seen it work through the craziest situations. Like, but that 4 to 7 is basically like 7 is like that maximum for like, basically how, like Casey says it, but like applying to the schools, like they're the only person or they're the only program that you're applying to. And the level of detail that it takes to basically become that perfect applicant for them really gets harder after that 7 mark. So if I'm applying to like 10 schools or 15 schools, then now all of a sudden I'm stretching myself thin and it's a lot more superficial, kind of like having a lot of nice acquaintances, but not deep friendships. You know what I mean? And so generally, like when we break that down, it usually comes down to about that 4 to 7. So if you're in that range and you've followed that process, now if y'all are applying to 4 to 7 and you're still shooting in the dark and you're just like, I just like these schools just cause, you might be guessing your way through the whole thing like most students, which is unfortunate, and that's why we get disappointed and we go back to our defensive mechanisms. But if you do it the right way, then 4 to 7 is a beautiful like range that works well. Casey, anything else to add to that?
No, that's it. Just beware the finances too, because there's application fees to go on with that. 155 for the first one, add 60 for each other school.
That's a good point. And if you guys want to hear more about like that conversation of money, we did a live stream. It's on our Instagram. So if you follow us on Instagram, look at our most recent IGTV video. We break it down in there or in our Facebook group. Y'all know how to find stuff online. So we break that down more. Great question. Let's go to Natalie. Natalie, I'll have you unmute yourself.
Okay, hi. So I applied this last cycle, so I'm not really looking to apply, but I know when I was going through the process, one of the things that was kind of hard for me to figure out was kind of where to apply. And I almost didn't know like where to start looking at like what kinds of things I should be looking at when trying to find a program that would fit me. So at least for the other people in here, like how would you recommend finding like what sorts of things would you look at for each program when you're trying to figure out where you want to go?
Yeah, so if you're not confined to Cali, I recommend going to the cheaper programs in the US, just to give that initial answer there. But California doesn't really have a lot of the cheaper schools. So if you want to stay in Cali, then that's a different conversation. But I would start with the cost, just because you will thank yourself 10 times over once you graduate or when that time comes for you and once you're working. If you can, and if you choose to, and if you're able to, with the life situations going on, apply to and get into a cheaper school. So that's the first one. I have Instagram/TikTok videos on that as well, with the lowest cost in-state and out-of-state schools. Fitbucks.com also has a list as well. I'm not sure exactly the full URL, but again, you guys know how to find stuff, but Fitbucks also has a nice list as well. Lastly, you can go to ptschoolprobe.com. Now they partnered with us, so it's his platform, so there's a cost to it, but you can use our code PREPTGrind to get a little discount. And in there is a huge database of where you can start filtering schools based on what you might like, because you are the customer as well. Yeah, we need to respect the schools and you're applying to them, all that stuff, but you're spending your money, you're spending your time, so you want to make sure that you have what you want. Whether that's clinical opportunities or certain observation hours you want to have or not have, whatever that is, there's a database there. So I start there, then other things, of course, location, then clinical experiences. What do you want to get into? What interests you? What kind of freedom do you want to have during those rotations? And how does that work? Because that's going to be a bulk of where you're learning a lot of stuff. Like to me, 90%, if not more, what you're going to learn is there. So if you want to do peds, do you have the opportunity to maybe explore pediatrics at the clinic? Is that even an option? Or are they like, nope, you're going here and there and that's it? Well, if that's the case, do you want that? Do you not? Then lastly is when you can take the NPTE, because again, you'll thank yourself 10 times over if you're going to be able to take it early rather than waiting 3 months or 6 months down the line. So those are the 4 things: cost, location, clinical experiences, then when you can take that NPTE. So that's what I'll look at first.
Was that a good answer? Is that clear? Perfect. I love it. I love it. All right. Next question is from Megan. I'll have you unmute yourself.
Okay, hi. So my question is kind of like odd, I would say, but do you think it's okay to pursue PT if you're more on the shorter side?
Sorry, I thought, so here's what I heard. Do you think it's okay to pursue physical therapy if you're on the shorter? And you're talking about like height wise, right? Like
Yeah.
basically from smaller, is it wise to? Great question, actually. So we had another student ask that recently, and they were like, I'm tiny, like does it make sense? Like I'll be transferring people and stuff like that. And I don't know why, like it's a very common like fear for a lot of people. They're like what if I have like someone that's like big, and like how am I going to move them? So the cool thing about physical therapy is you learn strategies to like transfer people and move them. Like when I was in PT school, the person that came, Casey, I don't know about your class, but the person that came to teach us like transfers, and she worked in acute care. So she was dealing with patients that were like 300 pounds, 400 pounds, 280, all that stuff. I think she was probably like 5'1" or 5 feet tall, super thin, like, and she was talking to us, and she was like, do you think I, and then she, like, very similar to the example that we got in the other call that we had, Casey, she transferred one of the biggest kids in our class. And Casey, you know Ben Weekly, right?
I figured it was.
So Ben Weekly, this dude's like 6'5", like 200, like 60, 70 pounds of just like body, right? And she transferred him because it has less to do with like, am I strong enough or big enough and all that stuff, and more to do with the techniques. And so that's what makes it kind of cool. So if you're scared of size and whatnot, trust me, 1, you're not alone. It's a very common fear. But 2, it's nothing to worry about. That's what will make it kind of cool. If anything, it makes you, I don't know, it makes you almost look like a superhuman when you walk into a room with a patient that looks at you like, you? And then you basically help them do whatever they have to do. And they're like, yo, I'm never questioning you again. It's one of the coolest things to watch. So you'll have some fun conversations with your patients. But it's a good question, but I wouldn't worry about it at all. Casey, anything to add to that?
Oh, you will have help as well, especially if you're in the inpatient setting, hospital setting, even outpatient, unless you're in home health. But you will have help, so that helps you as well, just in case you're like, okay, just help me do this, whatever. So that gives you a little support back there if any doubts come to mind when you're a new grad.
Boom. Was that helpful?
Yeah, definitely. I feel a lot better. Thank you.
I'm very glad to hear that. All right, Vivian, I'll have you unmute yourself.
Yeah, sorry. Quick question. So when you talk to schools during interviews and they shoot you a question that might be like, why our school? Is it acceptable to include location as one of the reasons? Because I've heard like mixed things on that.
Yeah, you can give whatever answer you want, but also ask yourself, like, whenever you give them an answer, are you giving them an answer that they already hear a lot? So for example, if if I'm trying to think of like an example with us, right? So if I walked up to Casey and Casey was like, so why me? Well, I don't know, you showed up on my Facebook feed first. So yeah, like, is it cool? Yeah. But what happens is now if I can say, actually, if I can show that I understand, like there are like certain attributes about the school, and it shows that I really have a vested interest in them, and I can embed that into my answer, or even make it personal so that it's very different from what they hear all the time, then that sticks more, right? So for you, yes, the location might be part of it, but why? Why is location important? Is location important because you have family? Is location important? Because you know, I have students that have said, you know, I have a family member that I actually take care of, so I can't be out of state. Okay, that's showing a very different dimension of you, instead of just being like, hey, it was closer than every other school, or it was in Florida because I don't know, I was tired of California. I wanted humidity now. I don't know what your reason's going to be. But basically, ask yourself: Am I answering in a way that anyone else can answer, or am I answering in a way that really showcases like different layers of really what I value in them, but also myself at the same time? Casey, what would you add to that, brother?
Yeah, that was great. I guess I'm trying to think of an example while you were talking, but you gave some great examples as well. If you don't have an example like Joseph was talking about, like a family member there, you can maybe like think about how you can start to make one up. And when you're practicing for interviews and all that stuff, when dialoguing with them, I think it helps to fail a lot with some of the answers you might try. So for example, if I'm trying to answer that question and just give an attempt, I might say, well, yeah, I do like, you know, Long Beach University because of the location. I am close, but I also like your location because you are close to the beach, and you're close to the beach, meaning you get a lot of surfers nearby. I've been surfing my whole life, and I also got injured when I surfed. So my goal as a physical therapist is to treat surfers, specifically with my injury. So if I can be close to not only home, but close to the beach, and I saw that an alumni or you guys did a study on surfers with these specific injuries, that is another reason I would love to go to Long Beach because of your location. So I just threw something out there just to see what I could come up with and to give you an example of what you can use with that location. So yeah, great question.
I love it. I love it. We're gonna go to Morgan here in a second, but Andrea just asked the question. I want to hit it real quick, and then Morgan will come back to you. So it says, I can't unmute myself right now, but I wanted to ask if we will learn how to deal with difficult patients. So first thing is, yeah, like you'll get a lot of scenarios. One, you'll learn it in the classroom, but you'll also learn it in real life. I think for me, I learned it more during my like actual rotations, because they could teach you that stuff in theory in the classroom, but when you're actually like faced with a patient that's difficult and you have to like ask your clinical instructor, like, how would you deal with this? That's when I learned it the most. And you know, if you want another place to kind of learn how Casey and I deal with it, because we have difficult patients, I don't know if you guys are in our free virtual observation hours program, where we basically teach y'all stuff. Like we basically like educate you guys and get you guys into our minds as physical therapists. Like it's very different from any other content we do. Everything else is about getting into PT school and all that stuff. This is just y'all getting into our worlds as PTs. And so in there, we do a lot of like case studies, but also during the live sessions, that's a conversation that we have a lot, where we tell you guys specifically with patients we've had, like how we would deal with difficult patients, like psychologically, and like what steps to take. And so if you guys want to learn that, feel free to go to observationhours.com. It's free, and you get hours. It's cool. But if you want to kind of get into that psychology, that's what I would do. But more importantly, when you're in PT school, a lot of that stuff, you'll learn it in class, but it'll make more sense when you're actually in front of the patients during your rotations in physical therapy school. So hope that was clear, but let's go back to Morgan.
Yeah, so kind of going back to the interview process, I was wondering if there is like a site we could look at for possible interview questions. Because I'm assuming most of us have had job interview questions, and some of them do vary, but I was wondering if they'd be like the same type of questions, kind of if it'd be more of like, you know, how do you work with others, or, you know, what's an instance you were able to, you know, solve a difficult problem, and like stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions out. There's a lot of sites out there. So if you just Google physical therapy interview questions, everything will pop up. We might even pop up with a few blogs. I just don't remember the exact blogs that we have there. But the most common questions are the ones that you said. Why PT? Why our school? Difficult situation, strengths and weaknesses. But I think a lot of the underrated qualities from an interview come from the questions you ask as well. So yes, definitely look up all the stuff online about what questions to prepare for. They're all going to relatively be the same, so practice all that stuff. Like, go for it, dive deep into it, but also don't neglect that. What do you care about and what do you want to ask? Because that's where you're going to flip it on them and put them in the hot seat. And they'll be like, oh, okay, this person is different, or that's where you can really shine and show your research and show your knowledge of the profession. All the stuff we talked about at the beginning, that's where it can come in and you can really blow them away. So that's what I would put. I would allocate at least some time to as well.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Let's go to Madison.
Hi, I just have a question about how to go about finding like observation hour opportunities. I'm a sophomore, so I'm still on the younger side. I know it's important to start looking at that type of stuff, but with COVID and everything, I know the options are super limited. I was lucky to just get accepted for a little job on the weekends at a clinic, a spine and sport. So I know that's not really going to help me out in terms of PT school. So I just want to learn how to get into a PT observation type thing because I know it's hard right now.
Oh, super good question. So first thing is, once again, just do our virtual observation hours first, because that's a nice virtual option. And because you're a sophomore, you'll have literally, if you're doing that, that's literally like what, 3 to 4 hours a month until you apply. That kind of adds up. So if you want some hours there, that's already going to help you, and those will actually apply for PT school. So observationhours.com. But more importantly, how do I get hours, especially in a COVID world, right? Like how do I like the physical in-person hours? And I'm not as familiar with the policies right now in California. I mean, I'm assuming they're a lot tighter than some other states, which makes it trickier. But you do have some time, but typically this is how it works. One, hospital systems are always going to be very difficult during COVID to get hours in. So if students are trying them, you can try them. But the reason is there's a lot of decision makers, right? So if they have policies in place, it's not one person that decided, it was a board above the hospital. So if you're trying to come in and they say no, it's not like they can just go ask whoever the CEO is. It just doesn't work like that, right? So where I tell students to start first is starting with private practices, right? Now, once again, this is state specific. So some states like California are just a little tighter, right? Because of everything, right? And other states are not as tight. Like Florida, it's a little easier to get hours as opposed to California. However, it like everywhere in general, private practices first. And the reason is there's less decision makers. So if I'm looking online, I'm looking for private practice physical therapy clinics, right? And then what I'm doing is basically reaching out to them and seeing what their COVID policy is and what their volunteer policy is. And I'm just trying to figure out, like, let me get a pulse on it. Everyone might say no, and that's fine, right? Because we expect it. Like, I'm expecting a no, but if I get something else, hey, it's a pleasant surprise. But that's where you want to start first. Number two, exactly what you did, but for a clinic, right? So if I work, they're always going to hire before accepting a volunteer, which is weird because prior to COVID, they would take a volunteer well before hiring because just it's a free person, right? And so, but now because of COVID, they want to make sure that people that are there are employed. So if you apply for a PT tech position, they still need them, right? Or PT aid, as it's called sometimes, that is a way for you to get paid, but also get qualified hours because you're in the presence of a physical therapist or physical therapists that can sign off on those being legitimate hours. And so those are the two things that I would probably do, especially in the COVID world. Now, we'll see what happens. You are a sophomore, so you might have a little bit more time. So who knows what a year from now looks like? It could be the exact same, or it could be very different. We don't know, right? But for right now, those are the things that you can control. But if you're like, hey, I want to start getting hours now, go to observationhours.com. They're virtual and you still get the same credits. But in theory, that's how to think through it. Understanding that different states have different challenges. Casey, anything to add to that?
No, that was pretty much it. And this time, that's the best way to go about it. So great question.
Let's see. Cool. I'm looking before I get the next question. All right, perfect. So next question is Nathan. Nathan, I'll have you unmute yourself.
All right. Hi again. So my question is kind of a two-parter. One of the things I am a little concerned about, especially trying to go forward into the PT profession, is clinical disagreement, especially between maybe maybe specific techniques or modalities that different PTs use. And granted, you know, I'm not a PT yet, but when it comes to having a conversation like that, what would be a good approach to having that sort of conversation about, you know, how effective or how well supported is this technique or modality? And do you know of any resources that any other resources that I could go to when it comes to that sort of thing?
Ooh, I like this question. This is actually, funny enough, this is actually more of a problem with the chiropractic profession, but it is actually a very serious problem in physical therapy as well. Like chiropractors have this a lot more. It's just philosophies and things like that. So first thing I'll tell you is this, and then I'll break it down, and then I'll see what Casey has to say about it as well. So first thing is, there's always going to be different different methods to get people better, right? So there's exercise-based models, there is manual-based models, there's a lot of cutting edge tech stuff that is newer. And that's where a lot of those disagreements come from. It's like, which works and which this. They're all they all work. They all work. I think more importantly, it's less about which strategy is the method to follow and more about when do I use them, because a lot of them are backed up by research. Physical therapy is a researched, it's an evidence-based profession. So a lot of this stuff, you can actually find the research for certain strategies and see if it's supported or not. Now, if it's newer, might not have as much research behind it, and that's where kind of things get, muddy, right? But for the most part, like manual therapy, you'll find people that say manual therapy doesn't work, or manual therapy is this. You'll find people that say dry needling doesn't work, dry needling this. You'll find people that say exercise, but they all work. It's just like, I think the part that I think was missed, and I actually got this part after I finished physical therapy school. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention. Maybe I was just trying to get my doctorate degree and I just missed this part. But understanding how to basically determine when to use what, right? When you can understand when to use what, basically understanding like how the body works. Like, when am I using more manual stuff? Well, that's earlier on, right? Like I don't always need to do it later, but it's understanding how muscle tissue works, how bone tissue, like bone heals, how ligaments heal, like all that stuff. When you can start putting that together, then basically what you're saying is like, oh shoot, now I know how to pull in dry needling. Now I know when I need it, right? If I'm ever just following one method to treat everything, then I might miss a whole bunch of stuff, right? And I could name off different strategies and different treatment methods, but most of y'all would be like, that's over my head. But just understand that whatever strategy or method you probably see, a lot of times people just pick it and they like run with it, whether it's like McKenzie or this, or everyone's like dry needle everything, and that's all they do. We miss so many other things, right? It's like, okay, like it's understanding the basics first, like let the tissue heal. Like if it's injured, let it heal. If it's in the acute stage, let it heal. How do I like let it heal? Well, cold and sometimes mobility. Okay, get it to move, right? Like I need to get something to move, right? Like think, okay, cool. After I get it to move, if I've let it heal, if pain has gone down, and whatever strategies I'm using have actually done that, great. Now I need to stabilize it. I need to get it stronger, right? What does that look like? There's different methods for that. Okay, great. Now I need to get them functional. What do they want to do, right? And so there's so many different techniques to do that. And when you can understand how the body actually heals, and the human body has been the same, I mean, for a while now, right? So if you can understand how the body heals, then that's when you'll be able to pull all these tools out of your tool belt as you learn them, because it's fun. It's fun to learn the different techniques and strategies. And I just wish more PTs would understand that that's how it really works, as opposed to being like, oh, let's just McKenzie only, or dry needling only, or manual therapy only, because those things do have limits, but they also have like beautiful parts of the healing. Like they play a role into some key parts of the healing process. And when you can understand that, then you're like, oh, okay. So with the neck, this is how it works. With kids, this is how it works. In the hospital, this is how it works. And then now it actually changes your ability to make decisions. So for me, like once I learned that, the way I decide things in the clinic, it's almost like a doctor. Like I'm able to look at somebody and look at, you know, a script, and I'm not just saying, all right, let's just do this. Just, you know, I'm not blindly like taking them through stuff. I'm using that process of understanding how the body works. You'll learn that part. But I think now after hearing this, you'll be like, oh, let me actually start paying attention to those details, because I sure did not. Like that part of putting it together must have missed me. Like I don't know how, but when I became a PT, I was fortunate, you know, I was fortunate enough to be around some PTs that helped me see that. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, so everything's amazing. Like I could, you know, dry needling, you know, as long as it's like, you know, evidence-based and stuff like that, it all works. I just have to know when to use it, and that's when you can have a blast. So Casey, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, brother.
Yeah, I commend you for that question, because that is a great question. That's a very high level question. And I think just your question alone tells you a lot about that you're really on the right path, because what I mean by that is learning about the arguments on both sides is going to help you immensely in the clinic, or even now when you're just learning about it, or if you're trying stuff out on your brother or whatever. So I think learning about both sides is going to help you become a better clinician, because if somebody comes in with back pain, you can, you know, reference whatever you've been learning over the years and say, this is great. This is why I would use that. Then you can argue against that and for the other side to make the best decision for the patient. So just to give you a quick example, I've been struggling with the patient for, I don't know how long she's been there, 16, 15 visits or so. And she was here the same time last year. And she has a back problem. And basically now I've thrown everything at her from all sides, from all different directions, from all the research that I looked up, from people who I asked in the clinic, all that stuff. And now we probably came to the conclusion that she might need a cortisone shot. And that might be it, because we've tried so many things that were evidence-based on both sides that other people might have argued about. We were just like, she needs some help. Let's use all the tools in our toolbox to try and help her as much as we can. So that's one example. Then another example I just came to the realization for with a lot of my patients was a lot of the shoulder patients I've been dealing with also had neck problems. So if I didn't know about all the research and all the different things that I learned in school and all the actual experience in the clinic in school, and now that I'm practicing, I probably wouldn't have pieced those things together and looked at the neck. I probably would have just said, oh, it's a shoulder problem. The research and evidence shows that I should do external rotators and thoracic rotation and all of this stuff, and not look at the levator scapula, the scalenes, the upper traps, the capitis muscles to see how that influences anything. And if I do a manip on there, does that work? Do I test and retest? All that stuff, all that cool stuff that you'll learn in school. It's everything that Joseph said. It all comes into play there. So I just commend you for that question, because that's exactly what I'm going through now. So if you're on that level already, just keep going, because you'll be great. You'll be great.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Y'all have been amazing. This has been beautiful. And honestly, like if this is a reflection of, you know, where a lot of other pre-PTs are headed in terms of the questions and just like y'all's willingness to just learn and grow yourselves and, you know, push yourselves, you know, it's amazing. So keep doing what y'all are doing. Once again, it's been an absolute honor being here tonight. Like we said at the beginning, this is the best pre-PT club we've seen so far. So whatever y'all are doing, just keep doing it. And keep pushing. Don't accept like, even with what we told y'all tonight, don't accept it as like, all right, this is it. Like, don't accept this as just like, this is it. Like, use this as a launching pad and start asking different questions. Start saying it like the question we just ended with, like start asking yourself very different questions. Say, okay, like, what does this mean for me? Like, how does this shift how I see physical therapy? Like, is this something I still want to do? Like, those are real questions to have. And I think we're scared to have them because we're afraid, oh, it might mean that, you know, I might have to change directions. No, I think that's how life is. And I think when you can do that, not only do you start walking into things that, you know, match what you actually want, but you also become a completely different version of you. Like when you're delivering on those things as a physical therapist, as a student, the level of energy you have is very different when you know why you're there for real, not just the superficial stuff. And that comes with asking questions. Some of them are tough. Some of them you might not get the immediate answer for, but when you keep going in that direction, beautiful things happen. And I think a lot of people are just too scared for that. So if y'all can do that, that's probably the parting thing that I would tell you guys. But it's been an honor. Anything, Casey?
That was great. That was great. If you don't know about us already, just make sure you get in our world, get in our ecosystem. We have everything from text to TikTok to YouTube to Facebook to podcasts. So just start doing your internet thing and start stalking us, so you just know what we're more about and just gain some value from everything that we have. So we hope to see you online and see your little bubbles and icons and stuff, and hope to see you interacting with us there.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that. But real quick before you guys go, I also ask everybody that stayed on, if you turn your cameras real quick, we're gonna do a quick club photo, and then I'll go over a couple recaps, and then the meeting will be concluded. So if y'all don't mind, turn those cameras on, you can do it. There we go. All right, sweet. All right. All right, well, Jeffrey, you gonna turn yours on? No?
Call him out.
Yeah, might as well. He's the only one that doesn't, but if not, not a big deal. All right, so everybody, on 3, I'm gonna take the picture. So 1, 2, 3. All right, we're good. All right, thank you guys again for coming out. Really, I learned more than I was actually expecting. I mean, definitely a different point of view, because I mean, honestly, yeah, I've always been big on statistics, of seeing as, you know, okay, this is how much this person did. Okay, so I need to be better than the average of this. And yeah, it's a lot of almost too much to fill to be great in every single column. And yeah, definitely what Nathan was saying a bit in the beginning, but yeah, it's like sometimes you feel like you're doing something, you think it's good, but you're like, is this actually like worth my time? Do I really need all those like observation hours and whatnot? So that was really great. And then last but not least, just a reminder that, let me pull it up real quick. There you go. You guys are gonna get a recap email of this with a tentative schedule of our upcoming events. Next Friday, we have our first social, which is PE with pre-PT. There is, today's the last day to fill out for the mentor-mentee program and t-shirts. And then this will be uploaded to our YouTube account, which will be also linked in the email as well. And then of course, there'll be a PDF of the PowerPoint we had today in the email. Be on the lookout for our Monday posts as well. Oh, bye. Yeah, you guys don't have to stay anymore. It was just announced for the clubs. Thank you again so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Yeah, so Monday we'll be doing, we've been doing posts every Monday. This next one will be push-up progression, and then the next one will be looking at some different research. We are continually updating our preview days for the different programs. Join our Discord. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I don't think I'm forgetting anything right now, but yeah. So that concludes the last meeting, or not the last meeting, it concludes this meeting. And I just hope you guys have a good rest of your day and weekend. So see ya.